Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, back with football columnist Andy Graham. It's football for a day, or something like that.
And tell them why we're in Mellencamp
We're in
Pavilion.
Mellencamp Pavilion because it rained really, really, really hard, and there was lightning, and there was thunder, and there was supposedly going to be hail. I don't know if that happened or came to pass or not. So after one quarter in Memorial Stadium, just pretty much packed up everybody and put them in Mellencamp Pavilion.
And let's face it, IU football can't
You
afford to
can
have
do-
500 loyal fans frickazeed on the
No,
metal
because you
stands
need
by
those.
lightning.
You need those. If they're
Yeah,
coming to your spring game, you need those people.
Exactly.
Really, really bad. And I mean, it needs to be pointed out. Not everybody could fit all of their fans into their indoor practice facility for the spring game, but
I will say
Indiana
this: I
can,
mean,
Indiana did.
the fans that were here, most of them came over.
They did.
I was
They did.
impressed.
They did. No one bailed. No one got in
Yeah.
the car and left. Everyone came to see what there was to see. So you had, give them credit for that, for sticking it out. And I mean, you had to, at the very least, walk through, a couple hundred yards of rain, and it was enough that I was pretty much soaked.
I saw a lot of Isaiah Roundtree.
Yeah, but anyway, so let's stop talking about weather because, it's rain. It happens. So don't have really good stats. Basically, don't have
no
really
stats.
any stats. They weren't keeping them officially, and we pretty much lost count on that entirely when we made the trip over.
They were already playing by the time we got here, so
Yeah,
we kept stats
so-
for the first 5 drives, and then
that fell apart completely. But the guy who stands out to you today, Isaiah Roundtree, transferred from Morehead State, also Lawrence Central kid, showed just a ton of speed out there. Basically, it's sort of Houston obviously still appears to be the guy at tailback, but Roundtree showed he's got a different gear than the rest of these guys have, and that seems like it can make a difference for this offense.
No, I agree. I mean, that's an element that they haven't necessarily had. I mean, D'Angelo's got some nice burst, and apparently the kid coming in from Chicago, as a
Tevin
true
Coleman's
freshman,
really
Tevin
good
Coleman,
by all accounts.
who looks great on film. He might well have the ability to take it to the house outside when he gets outside too. However, we saw that today without much mistake. I mean, and this is against an Indiana defense. It's always a bit difficult to gauge when you're just playing against yourself. But this is an Indiana defense that looks quicker, that looks like it hits harder, that is out of position fewer times, and
Yes,
he still burned. I
Yeah.
mean, he was impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean we had one run that I think we're putting somewhere in the 60 range.
Yeah,
That's kind of a guess. I mean, we were in the end zone and yard
Buck
markers.
Sir's estimate
We've
was
got
63.
No idea. Buck Sir went with 63, so
what he
we'll
said.
we'll
We'll
stick
go
with
with
what
that.
Buck said. I dig it. But yeah, I mean he broke it loose on the sideline and it was definitely different indoors because guys reacted like it was a practice. And I think you had one of the strength and conditioning guys, I think it was Will Peoples, was really like just running right alongside Roundtree all the way and just yelling at him, and then just more or less everyone just poured into the end zone when he scored. I mean, just everybody came in there. Dylan McCullough, the running backs coach, ran in and it was just pat him on the back and
I
throw
said
about
that's
it.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That was impressive.
it was intriguing to hear because you talked to some of the talk to the players, and of course the players don't call each other out. They said we knew he could do that. He's been doing that since he's been here, whatever. And we asked Kevin Wilson about him. He says he's 1 for 15. He says, but Wilson's been pretty demanding of him. He had a very good fall by all accounts. He was by transfer rules. He couldn't play.
And he had
But
ankle
was like
issues
scout
this
team.
spring.
He had ankle issues this
And other
spring,
things,
but he was
yeah.
apparently if you look at the scout team player of the week, Roundtree was scout team player of the week almost every single week on offense. And Wilson, I think, was hoping for a little bit more consistency this spring, but he said, this is what I want to see out of him is a guy that could just break one loose. And I mean, it obviously is a great change of pace for Houston, who I think,
I agree.
is and. Kevin Wilson's tough on him too, but I think he really looked like a true kind of thoroughbred tailback at the end of last year. You saw some flashes out today. He had a 40-yard run in the first quarter while they were still outside.
Right.
And
He looks like a Big Ten back.
yeah,
I mean,
he looks
just
like a
does.
Big Ten back, and Roundtree looks like a good just sort of change of pace for that. Roberts can still add to that,
And Tevin
but
Coleman looks
Roundtree,
great on film.
yeah,
I mean,
and Tevin Coleman's going to be used a lot of ways.
It looks like a unit that has some potential
It could help,
to
yeah.
really
No,
mature well.
they've got potential there. They're using them out of the back, catching balls out of the backfield more. We didn't see a ton of that today necessarily, but it's something they're talking about, lining up tailbacks at wide receiver, just sort of motioning them out, and just finding ways of getting them involved in the passing game.
I think one thing needs to be pointed out about that is I think Coach Wilson would acknowledge this, that they weren't going to show anything to anybody in terms of what new wrinkles they might
That's
have
true. That's
in a
true.
spring game. Because
That's
he
true.
basically said that coming in, we're not going to show anybody anything. We're going to look like
No.
we did last fall. We're going to run
Right.
the stuff we ran last fall.
Yeah, no,
so
that's true.
it's a little bit there may be some more components to it that we just haven't seen.
That's very, very true. Yeah, Wilson's kind of he's not showing anybody anything on film until he has to. He's very so what I'm looking for. I don't want to say paranoid because that's not the word I'm looking for. Cognizant about that is someone will still watch your spring game tape.
Yeah,
Somebody will.
Yeah.
And
he thinks it's better to be
that's why there's
circumspect
exactly.
as long as possible.
There's Big Ten Network now. You can just tape
Yep.
the game. You didn't used to be able to do that.
Yep.
Now you can. Now these things are televised. So
Although there's just Big Ten Network for a quarter today. So.
yeah. Well, they were still there. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know how
Apparently they're going to have like a wrap up. They're going to show the quarter.
I'm intrigued by how they pull it off.
And then they're going to do like a wrap up with interviews and stuff to fill up at least some of the rest of the time.
Yeah.
That's what Jeremy Gray said, and so I presume that's the plan. But it's supposed to be at 9 p.m. Monday on Big Ten Network for those of you who may want to take a gander, but you might actually see only about a quarter of actual
I think they'll have a little bit more. At least they'll have highlights.
Sure.
You'll see the Roundtree touchdown. I mean, there was a Big Ten Network guy with a camera here inside, so they had to be doing something. Offensively, beyond Roundtree, saw good and bad in the pass game. They weren't phenomenal.
Nice
Cam
day.
Kaufman looked good. Cam Kaufman looked solid. And Trey looked okay.
Yep.
They neither one of them, blew the doors off the place or anything like that. And you had some drop passes and stuff like that weren't their fault at all. So you're seeing some progress. I mean, Roberson's a better thrower than he was last year when he was very much run-oriented, when it was really all about him running spread option.
But he can still
Steve
run.
Houston.
Which
And he can still very much run.
No doubt.
It's weird to watch quarterbacks run in this situation because they can't get hit. And it's touch football with them, so there's yards that they would get, otherwise there's yards that they wouldn't get otherwise, and it doesn't really kind of play out that way.
Defense had some pressure today.
Defense had some pressure. They had some sacks in the first quarter before we went inside. They might have had sacks inside. Did I really just say that? Great, awesome.
You did.
Awesome. But anyway, they might have had a couple sacks inside that we didn't notice because we couldn't tell from where we were sitting. Defense, they did step up a couple times goal line or close to it. I thought that was kind of their sort of shining moment.
I thought the DTs were really solid today. I thought they got good press. They got a good push on pass rush, and then as you said on the goal line situations, that was strong. I mean, and it should be strong. You got seniors. Are
There's not a lot of seniors on this team, and most of them play defensive tackle.
You do. That's right.
Yeah.
And so that'll be look. It's probably just the fact that it was indoors and the Sonics. In Mellencamp here, but there was some hitting going on, and maybe not any more than there usually is because we're not usually indoors and that close to the action. But there were some people that got lit up today, and I just thought the defense looked a little faster, a little sharper, a little less out of position, just better. They've looked better when I've seen them this spring than they looked at any time last fall.
As far as the DTs, and I think over the past 3 years, I think Adam Raploga's probably been the most consistent guy. Really on the defense as a whole, compared to anybody. Larry Black lost a lot of weight, and he looks good.
He does.
I mean, I think that makes a difference. He's as explosive as I've ever seen him. I mean, there have been times where he's just got a little bit, I guess, slothy is the best word to put it. He's always been a big guy. He's got some speed.
I thought Bobby Richardson showed up today.
Bobby looked pretty good. Richardson looked pretty good. There was a couple decent outings by the defensive ends.
JUCO linebackers. I mean, I thought David Cooper was kind of all over the field.
Yeah.
And Jakari, had a couple of nice hits out there. They're going to help. There's no doubt.
No, I mean, I think Cooper and Alexander are the guys that I think are almost sure things to start, pretty much. I guess the one difference is when they have three linebackers. I don't know that we saw three linebackers today at all. No. It's supposed to the two starters were usually Hubler and Cooper.
And then a nickel.
And they usually spend a lot of time in nickel. Yeah. You did see Ryan Thompson was starting as one of the safeties next to Mark Murphy.
He looked good. I thought he and Treg Waters both. Once again, they delivered some hits and made some plays. I'll tell you who I liked today. Quite a bit. Where I like the corners. I like LB. I thought
Barnett looks good.
Barnett broke up several passes. And Kenny Mullen looked better to me too.
Yeah.
So that was encouraging. If that's
I think those guys are good. I mean, it is kind of weird to
scrimmage. So,
exactly. It's tough to tell even accuracy of what you're seeing really today. But I mean, I've always thought Lawrence Barnett has the talent should be the best corner on the team, should be their lockdown guy, should be the guy that's on the best receiver every time. And there was obviously some inconsistencies last year. I mean, he got beat up by Michael Hunter, I think. Heben, I think was the one guy who didn't really come out of the starting lineup, but Barnett got beat out a few times. I think Hunter was the guy in that situation, and Barnett usually plays well, but last year they were so all about being consistent in practice, being there every day in practice. I don't know if you're going to be able to have built up some equity this year because they're not trying. The coaching staff isn't trying as hard to make the same point, but obviously that's something that's important to them is consistency in practice, is being an everyday player, and they're going to reward the guys that are, and they're going to penalize the guys that aren't.
And they're going to keep the competition context. I mean,
yeah.
However they need to do it. They got a kid coming up from Georgia Military they like a lot as a corner.
Yeah. Antonio Marshall is, by all accounts,
pretty good.
Pretty good.
So,
I mean, I think out of the secondary guys they added, they sounds like he's the most likely to start. Shane Boyle, from what I hear, was going to be a great addition, and that unfortunately broke down because of
too many years.
Too many years. He had a lot of kid went through a ton, an absolute ton, and just it kind of screwed up with his eligibility being. His clock starting when it started. There was some, a little bit of Guy Marc Michel there, minus the French pro team, but more tragic stuff.
So do we have enough time to comply with Coach Wilson's wishes and provide a Don Fisher punter report here?
I guess we get it. Like Don Fisher is sort of obsessed with punting.
It's a legitimate topic.
It's a legitimate topic. It's a legitimate topic, and Wilson has taken to busting on him for that. And I think did they punt twice?
It's a semi-legitimate
they obviously
topic.
They didn't punt indoors.
No,
I think Mitchell Voss had one good punt. Nathan Reisman had one okay punt.
Yeah.
And that's your Don Fisher punt report.
There you go.
But
that
anyway,
sums it up.
Real quick, how much better are they? How much better can they be?
It'll be a better product on the field next fall, I think. How many W's that translates into, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule on paper isn't necessarily conducive to a huge progression in terms of victories. That might have to wait till 2013 when there's 8 home games. But I think it'll be a better product on the field. I think that the players that they have now are bought in. It's like Coach Wilson said. We're growing as coaches as well. We're learning them. We're learning what makes them click. How do we get it out of them? How do we bring it out of them? I think it's a better atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think it's a more solid team, and I think it'll still be a team with a lot of challenges next fall. It's going to be a process. It's going to take a while. It took a while for. Indiana basketball fans know all about that. Sometimes it's going to take a while. In this case, it probably will. But if they're more competitive next year, add 2 or 3 more wins, maybe they knock somebody off that they aren't expected to beat. Mm-hmm. Then I think people will understand that some progress is being made. And I think it's from what we were able to see this spring, it's fairly evident that there's progress being made.
Yeah. No, real quick on that. I mean, the big thing is everybody here right now wants to be here. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Last year, some guys weren't sure, and there was, Coach Wilson even said that maybe we didn't connect with some guys, and I think just talking to him, he seems to be a different guy this year. I mean, like not necessarily this spring. I mean, I think you saw him kind of evolve throughout the fall and start to really kind of make a point that I need to show more that I care about these guys. I mean, it seemed like he came in and trying to be drill sergeant a little bit, and that makes sense when you're walking the door and you're the new guy. And I think he didn't get less demanding, but he said, okay, like I've got to at least connect with these guys. They got to know I care about them. And it seems like he's made a lot of progress with that. And you're seeing just a group of people that just likes each other more than it did at this time last year.
Definitely a different feel. I mean, last
year...
I
got to cut you off real quick.
Last year they talked the talk.
Yeah. All right, we got no time left. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Appreciate it.